Dear children, welcome yet again to a new lesson, Water, O Water. Children, in the previous lesson, It's Raining, if you remember, we started the lesson with a poem on clouds. In this lesson too, we will start the lesson with a poem on water. The poet starts the poem with a conversation between Munna and his Nani, where Munna tells his Nani about the uses of water. He tells her that he washes his face with water and that we all quench our thirst with water. He says that all living things are alive because of water, and that if we start writing stories about water, it can fill pages and pages. He further goes on to say that he sees water in different forms as dew, snow, and steam. Then he talks about the different sources of water like rivers, waterfalls, lakes, and springs. The poet also tells us that water available for our use in the right quantities is really helpful, but excess of water on earth in the form of natural disasters like floods cause a lot of damage and misfortune to human lives. Okay, let's quickly go through what we are going to learn today. In today's session, we are going to learn about the different forms of water, activities done with and without water, sources and storage of water, ways to make water safe for drinking. So, after we go through these subtopics thoroughly, you will know that water exists in three forms and how they get converted from one form into another form. You will be able to list some activities that can be done with and without water, be able to list out and identify different sources of water, be able to classify and identify sources of water as surface water and underground water, name the containers in which we store water, understand the importance of conserving water, state the importance of safe handling of water, and list some ways in which we can make water safe for drinking. Now, let's move on to the first subtopic, forms of water. We all know that water exists in three forms: solid, liquid, and gas. The solid form of water is ice. Its liquid form is water, and the gaseous form of water is steam or water vapor. We can, however, change water from one form to another by heating or cooling. Let's try and understand it better using this picture. Here, in this picture, you can see that ice on heating becomes water and water on further heating becomes water vapor. Similarly, water vapor on cooling becomes water and water on further cooling becomes ice. Hence, we can say that we can change water from one form to another by heating and cooling. Now children, we are going to try and answer a few questions and solve a few interesting exercises. Let's answer the first question. Which are the places mentioned in the poem where we find water? The places mentioned in the poem where water is found are rivers, waterfalls, lakes, and springs. Now, here are a few interesting exercises we are going to solve together. Tick the activities for which water is needed. There are 9 activities given here. Out of these activities, we know playing, singing, writing and running a fan does not require water. But rowing a boat, making tea, kneading dough, painting pictures and growing plants require water. Now, let's name any 4 activities which you can do without water and you cannot do without water. Dancing, watching TV, singing and playing are some of the activities you can do without water. Cooking, washing, bathing and painting are some of the activities which you cannot do without water. Now, in the next exercise, we are going to arrange activities based on the amount of water required. There are 5 activities mentioned here like to bathe, to drink, to clean the house, to water the fields and to knead the dough. Now, let's put them in order. Watering the fields requires most water, then comes cleaning the house, then comes bathing, then drinking and kneading the dough requires least amount of water among all these activities. Now, let's move on to our next subtopic of today's session, which is sources of water. We all know, children, that rain is the main source of water on earth and all the other sources of water depend on rain. Now let's discuss about the 2 types of sources of water, which is underground water and surface water. What is underground water? When rainwater or water from the water bodies seeps into the ground through cracks and spaces found in the soil and gets collected below the ground, it is called underground water, water table or aquifers. The examples of sources of underground water are hand pumps, tube well, bore well and wells. Now let's move on to surface water. Surface water is any water body seen above the ground or we can see on the surface of the ground. This water is naturally filled by rain. The examples of surface water are rivers, ponds, lakes, streams, waterfalls, sea or ocean. The next subtopic we are going to take up is storage of water. That is, collecting water and storing it for future use. Why do we generally store water? We need to store water for future use and as it is very helpful during times of water scarcity. Drinking or potable water may not be available at all times, so we need to store water. We store water for drinking and cooking in separate containers. Drinking water is stored in pots, PET bottles, cans, copper vessels, water filters and purifiers. Water that is used for domestic purposes like washing clothes, bathing, watering plants, etc. are stored in tanks and larger storage containers like buckets, drums, etc. The stored water which we have saved for drinking needs to be made safe for drinking. So now let's see how we can make water safe for drinking. These are some of the methods by which we can make water safe for drinking. One is by boiling and filtering it. Though this is one of the best methods, these days we do not have the time to boil and filter water. So many of us use RO systems and other water purifiers to purify water. So children, it is of utmost importance to purify water using any of the above methods, as contaminated water or impure water can cause various waterborne diseases. I hope this session was useful in knowing about uses of water, activities done with and without water, sources of water, ways and containers used to store water, and finally how to purify water and make it safe for drinking. Thank you, children.